Hello students, this is Dr. Church and we're going to take just a few minutes and talk about the Köppen classification system for world climates. Now I don't want you to memorize all the classifications and know the temperature distributions and precipitation average throughout the year for each of these climates, but just to have a general sense of the different types of climates that are represented throughout the world. And so let's just take a few minutes and have a look at those. This is taken from our textbook, of course, and we look at the Köppen climate classification system. How are climates classified? Well, there are two basic classification factors, and that's temperature and precipitation. So we're going to look at mean monthly and annual values for temperature and precipitation. And if you look at a Köppen classification map, you'll see that there are many different types of climates represented throughout the world. We're just going to look at the five major classifications. Those principal groups are humid tropical, humid mid-latitude, dry, polar, and highland climates. So the first is the humid tropical climates. These are what you would expect. They're going to be near the equator. These are your tropical climates that are either wet tropical or tropical wet and dry. Your wet tropical climates are going to be those sort of rainforest climates. There's no winter in those climates. The average mean temperatures are pretty high, 18 degrees C or higher, and about 200 centimeters of rain per year. So that's quite a bit of rain. So it's very wet tropical climate you would expect. There's another type of tropical climate, which is the tropical wet and dry climate, which is what you would expect in like an African savanna. These are transitional climates between wet and subtropical steppes. So that's the first classification, which is the humid tropical climate. The second is a fairly large classification of climates, is the humid mid-latitude climates. That is subcategorized into mild winters and severe winters. If you take a look at the actual location of the mid-latitudes, what you're going to see is that the mid-latitudes are, as you would expect, in that mid-latitude, it's not equatorial and it's also not polar. So it's going to be those latitudes that are sort of in the middle. So you can see that's represented in the continents of North America. So we're in mid-latitude through Europe and much of Russia and China. Then you've got your mid-latitudes, which is going to grab a bit of Australia there, some southern points of Africa and South America. You have mild winters, which are going to be fairly dry, summer subtropical, humid subtropical, and marine west coast. Again, there's different temperatures and precipitations that are represented in that, but again, that's like subclassifications for the subclassification. So I'm not asking you to memorize all those, just to kind of know where it is and that it represents a fairly broad section of climates. So you've got mild winters, and then you have climates with severe winters. These are subarctic or humid continental climates, which are located in the mid latitudes. And so you can see as you go up, like this is up into Canada and northern Russia, that you could have some severe winters in places of that nature. So that's your second classification. Third classification are the dry climates, just really very low rainfall and quite a bit of evaporation. If you look in these climates, you'll see generally that's going to be your North African climates in Australia. You can see that there are some desert regions in Australia. And then for the United States, that's going to be what we would generally consider the desert Southwest. And so those are your dry climates, which you can see is going to be represented by a desert, what you would generally picture in that regard. Number 4 is your polar climates. This is going to be cold. There's your polar berries, so cute. And you know, this is what you're getting into your polar regions. It's very cold. You've got winters. Just even the warmest month is below 10 degrees C. So these are areas that we would consider very cold. And some of them can be extremely dry as well. And then finally, the highland climates. These highlands are regional climates that, as you know, the elevation affects climate. And when you go up in these localized regions up into the mountainous areas, the highlands, they're high lands, they tend to be cooler and wetter than the areas in the lower elevations. You've got Scottish highlands, you've got highlands in the mountains of North Carolina. You've got just generally located places that are high, which will see those cooler, wetter climate environments. So this is just your 5 general classifications. Basically know what those are and how they're classified, and we shall be good to go. Thank you so much.